Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating piece of text, Surah Al-Ghashiyah, the 88th chapter of the Quran. Now, what makes this specific text so incredibly powerful is how masterfully it bridges two completely different worlds. On one hand, it plunges us straight into the terrifying, unseen realities of the afterlife and divine judgment. But then, almost out of nowhere, it grounds those massive, mind-bending metaphysical concepts right into the observable natural world, specifically the biology of the desert. It is literally a masterclass in using the physical world you can see and touch to prove a spiritual reality that you can't.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the overwhelming event, two distinct destinies, reflecting on the camel, the sky, mountains, and earth, a reminder, not compulsion, and we'll wrap up with the inevitable return.
Section 1. The overwhelming event.
So let's start with the very title of the chapter. The source material wastes no time. It immediately establishes massive, unavoidable stakes for every preacher. There is no gentle buildup here. We are thrown right into an event of absolute cosmic proportions. The Arabic term al-Ghashiyah translates to the overshadowing calamity. Classical commentators describe this as the resurrection. Think about the imagery for a second. It's like a giant, inescapable shadow casting itself over everything. It's a universal reality that will suddenly and completely cover those who were just, well, not paying attention. It encompasses the whole shebang, from the total unraveling of our present solar system to the final handing out of ultimate rewards and punishments.
Section 2. Two distinct destinies.
And when this overwhelming event actually arrives, it doesn't leave humanity in some weird, ambiguous gray area. It radically divides everyone into two starkly different groups, and it's based entirely on their earthly striving. On the Day of Judgment, human faces are going to tell the whole story. For those who rejected the truth, their faces are humbled, downcast, totally exhausted from useless toil. Their punishment involves a blazing fire, and their food, it's this bitter, poisonous, thorny plant called dedi or shibrik. It's completely useless. It doesn't give you any nourishment, and it certainly doesn't relieve hunger. It's the ultimate symbol of deprivation. But then, look at the contrast. On the flip side, you have joyful, radiant faces. These people are deeply satisfied and completely content because all the hard work, the sacrifices, the striving they did back in their earthly life, it's finally paid off with the ultimate reward.
For those joyful faces, the text gets incredibly tangible with the physical comforts they're rewarded with. We're talking flowing springs running right over the surface of the ground, cups already perfectly set out for drinking, cushions lined up, and these beautiful spread-out velvet carpets. But I really want to draw your attention to the raised couches, known in Arabic as surur. These aren't just for taking a nap. They are intentionally elevated so that the believer, sitting in absolute luxury, can look out and survey their entire granted dominion. It's a profound posture of honor, dignity, and just eternal tranquility.
Section 3. Reflecting on the camel. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the text brilliantly pivots from the unseen, unimaginable realities of the afterlife straight back to the highly observable, dusty reality of the present world. It yanks the listener from the abstract right down to the immediate. Then do they not look at the camels, how they are created? It's a fantastic rhetorical challenge. For a 7th century Arab, the camel was literally everything. It was their transport, their wealth, their food, their clothing. By commanding the deniers to look at the camel, the text takes these abstract metaphysical warnings and grounds them in a tangible biomechanical marvel of the desert. It's essentially asking, if you doubt the Creator's power to resurrect you, why don't you just take a look at the foundation of your own survival?
And the linguistic precision here is absolutely stunning. The Quran doesn't just toss out one generic word for the camel. The vocabulary constantly shifts based on function and metaphor. Ibil is the collective term used right here in Surah Al-Ghashiyah, asking humanity to reflect on the species as a whole. Then you have Jamal, referring to the adult male, which is famously used in that metaphor about how impossible it is for the arrogant to enter paradise, not until a Jamal passes through the eye of a needle. Naqa specifically designates the miraculous she-camel sent as a test to the people of Thamud. And finally, Ba'ir refers to a beast of burden, the pack camel. You actually see this exact word used in the amazing story of Prophet Yusuf, or Joseph, when the king offers a camel's load of provisions as a reward during the famine. The text is constantly demanding that we look much closer at something we just assume we already know. So the crucial point is, what exactly are we looking at? Well, biologically, the camel is an absolute masterpiece of design. It's got 3 eyelids just to block out severe desert sandstorms and specialized systems for storing fat and water for extreme endurance.
Modern science actually shows us a 45 million year epoch of what scholars call guided evolution, or etwar, meaning creation in stages. But the Quran didn't just bring up the camel for a biology lesson. It used it to issue massive theological corrections. Back in pre-Islamic times, the Jahiliyyah, people held all these wild superstitions. They would dedicate certain camels to idols, calling them Bahira, Saiba, Wasia, or Hum, and forbid anyone from using them. The Quran came in and abolished those practices entirely. It restored the camel as a practical, everyday blessing for human use and firmly established that the authority to declare what is lawful or unlawful belongs exclusively to the Creator, not to human superstition.
Section 4. Sky, Mountains, and Earth. But, the surah doesn't stop at the camel. It completely expands its scope of empirical observation out to the broader natural world, creating this massive, sweeping panorama of evidence. Just trace this sequence with me. First, step 1, we look right in front of us at the camel's precise biology. Then, step 2, our gaze is directed upwards to the sky, an impossibly vast canopy raised high without a single visible pillar. From the sky, step 3, the gaze lowers slightly to the horizon, focusing on the mountains, which are firmly set like stabilizing pegs to keep the earth from swaying. And finally, step 4, the gaze comes right back down to our own feet, to the earth itself, spread out as a comfortable, habitable expanse. And this brilliantly illustrates the core argument: if the Creator has the artistic skill and sheer omnipotent power to design and sustain all of these incredibly complex realities right in front of your eyes, how could you possibly think that recreating you after death is somehow beyond his capability?
Section 5. A reminder, not compulsion.
Having laid out all of this rational, highly observable evidence, the text now shifts to define the specific role of the prophet in delivering this overwhelming news. And I want you to think about this question for a second. Can belief actually be forced? Like, can you physically make someone's heart accept a truth if they stubbornly refuse to see the signs that are literally right in front of them? The answer, fundamentally, is no, you can't. And the text makes this beautifully clear, addressing the prophet directly. So remind, you are only a reminder giver. You are not a controller over them. In Arabic, the distinction here is between a muzakkir, someone who reminds, and a musaitir, a controller or a tyrant. The prophet's duty was to deliver the message, point to the camels, point to the sky, the mountains, and warn of the overwhelming event. But he was not responsible for forcing people to accept it. This affirms the profound foundational principle that there is no compulsion in religion. Guidance ultimately rests with the Creator. The human responsibility is simply to convey the message and to reflect on it.
Section 6. The inevitable return.
While belief definitely cannot be forced in this worldly life, there is an ultimate, inescapable destination for every single human being, and it requires absolutely no one's permission. The surah concludes with an absolute guarantee. Unto us surely is their return, then surely it is for us to call them to account. The Arabic word used for return here is iyabahum, which carries this profound nuance of returning back home, the place where we originally belong. So while a messenger has zero power to compel belief, personal accountability before the Creator is an inescapable, universal reality. No matter how fast a person runs or how long they live, their ultimate destination is this exact return. The judgment belongs entirely to the Creator.
So we end exactly where we began, but hopefully with much clearer vision. This text leaves us with a lingering, provocative thought that ties the unseen judgment of the future directly back to the observable signs of the present. When that overwhelming event inevitably arrives, which of the two faces will you wear? Are you going to have the exhausted, downcast face or the joyful, radiant one? And to figure that out, ask yourself today, have you truly looked at the camels, the mountains, and the sky surrounding you? Have you actually read the signs? Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Keep reflecting, and I'll catch you in the next one.